Welcome to the Leader to Leader podcast. I'm your host, Susan Spears. Our guest today is Paul Milde. Paul is the founder and president of CIP Finishes here in the Fredericksburg, Virginia region. Paul, welcome to the Leader to Leader podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here. I have known Paul really since very early in my time at the Chamber. Now, I don't know how it happened, Paul, but I've been here 18 years. 18 years. You know, recently I had one of those anniversaries, that work anniversary that pops up on your different calendars, and I just thought, how in the world did that happen? But when I look back on my journey here, I remember you the whole time. And my first real memory of you was when we did an event called Reality Check. And so we might even think back on that at some point in our conversation today. But let me tell our listeners a little bit more about you. Paul is a lifelong entrepreneur, and he's proud to have worked in the construction industry since 1986. That alone is something to think about. Along the way, he's certainly grown and expanded the business CIP Finishes, so we'll talk about that a little bit. He lives in Stafford County, which is the northern part of our region. It's just the lower tip of Northern Virginia if you're looking at a worldwide map of the United States. He's been so active in the community, having served, I believe it was 3 terms on the Stafford Board of Supervisors. Right. A bit of time there just doing amazing things that we can talk about. And that's really where he became so engaged as an individual with the Chamber, but also with his business with the Chamber of Commerce. He's active with Rotary. He's been a Rotarian for more than 10 years. And a lot of people don't do this, join 2 service organizations, but he's also a member of the Aquia Harbor Lions Club, and he's been involved with the Lions for over 15 years. Both of those organizations have great missions in giving back to the community. Now, I don't know about this, Paul. This is a little bit interesting. Certified as a scuba and an enriched air nitrox, I don't even know if I said it right, diver.
That's right.
Okay, you're just wicked, man. I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's just awesome. And a licensed pilot. He travels all over the place. He's just so much energy. And in 2020, of all years, he participated in the Chamber's Leadership Fredericksburg program. So it was a real joy to have that journey with you as well.
That was great.
Yeah, so I like to say all of those things, but a big way that we work together is on transportation initiatives as well.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled to have you with us. And as we look back at like 1986 in your journey to where you are now, tell us about that and maybe the business and how you and your leadership journey have kind of come along through that time.
Well, in '86, I was just out of high school and just out of a lot of trouble. My past is public record because I ran for office later, but I was a troubled youth. I got in a lot of trouble, and I started a company just doing custom closets in '86. And when the wire shelving was just a new product, and we grew fast. I worked all the time. I just worked for the next 10 years. I worked constantly, and built that company into a company doing finishing, trim, and door hardware, bath accessories, wire shelving, anything that goes in after paint in a unit. We converted in that 10 years to working in apartments, multifamily, and pretty much by the end of that first 10 years, kind of phased out the custom closet thing that had been so helpful and useful in the beginning, became something we thought we didn't see as part of our future. And then the company just continued to grow because I was determined to try to compete with the big guys who are that work across state lines and across regional lines. And we've done it. We've built the company into probably one of the biggest company in the DC area, working in apartments exclusively doing after paint, finish, trim, hardware.
Yeah, well, describe a little bit more about that? Like when you say that the largest, tell me more about the size of the company now, and maybe compared to even 5 years ago, let's say.
Okay, well, of course, '86, it was I was a one-man operation, and then a couple people helping me for the first decade. But just 5 years ago, we weren't too much. We're growing every year.
Yeah.
We just had our biggest year. We just had our largest sales year already this year, and this year's not over. So we're certainly growing. We have about 30 or 35 people that work for us, and there's a little bit of fluidity in the installation side of that, because our subs that work for us installing have crews, and those crews get larger or smaller depending on how much work we have at the time for them. But we're doing about 12,000 units a year right now, individual apartment units, and that's I never could have imagined that. Maybe 5 years ago we were only doing 7,000 or 8,000, I think we counted. But I expect some ups and downs, but it's been up for quite a while, and so that gives you an idea. And our volume is we're over $10 million a year in gross sales deposits.
Well, I mean, that's certainly, congratulations. There's a lot of success there, a lot of hard work. And in the midst of that, I think about you coming to me and saying, I want to do Leadership Fredericksburg. So you've served in public office, you've led initiatives in the community, you lead a company, and yet you go and take a community leadership program. So tell me about what drives you to do something like that.
Right. Well, so self-improvement is one of my goals in life, right? It's my spirituality and my trying to be a better person. And so I got to work with you guys so often as a Board of Supervisors member, and I saw what you do for the community. The chamber is I was just thinking on the way here how really amazing the chamber is and what it does for the Fredericksburg region. There isn't anything else like it. It's where everyone comes together, all the business community, and you've done such a good job of bringing so much of, if not most of, the business community together. And we can communicate, we can exchange ideas, we can do things like leadership. But the reason I want to do those types of things is because it helps me become a better person, and I want to give back to my community, because I realize that kind of all works together. Me being a better person, helping the community, it helps me be successful.
Yeah, well, I think that's great, and we really enjoy it when we have senior leaders come in and learn from folks that are in the class that are newer in their journey. By the way, I appreciate you saying that about the chamber. Our vision really is to be the leading convener. And so knowing that we're partway there, at least in your eyes, is very helpful. So I appreciate that. Along the way, I would guess, Paul, that your style, okay, so you've got your natural innate, who Paul Milde is, but how has your leadership style maybe morphed or changed over this time, too, as the company has grown?
Well, my leadership style is very hands-on, and I still like to be copied on almost everything. That's a lot of being copied.
That's where I go, tell me more.
And no, I don't, but people may not know if I scan through everything, and I don't interject very often.
Okay.
But it gives me a chance to just kind of know what's going on, because I don't want to lose touch of what the company's doing, where we're heading. I've been in business long enough to have been through some bad times, and some good times, and a couple of recessions before this one. So I know how things have gone wrong in the past, and it was because I lost touch of what was going on. But I have an amazing group of people that work for me. I'm so fortunate to have just some really professional, knowledgeable people in my office who know what they're doing, and they really don't need me very often. But I'm there to kind of impart my experience and kind of the vision, still to keep the vision where I want it to be, and something they're all happy with and they can buy into. But I'd say it's changed. Actually, it's changed because I'm less I don't micromanage as much, and I've tried to learn to be more approachable. There's a couple of things I really learned from Leadership Fredericksburg that I have to say, after all that time. I just did that leadership a little bit over a year ago, and it really made a big difference. I got to do the personal personality assessment and looked at my leadership style, and I sent out questionnaires to my employees, some of my employees, and got some really good feedback. But I've learned to be more hands off, I think, and I don't know, just I don't know what words to use to describe that, but just I don't. It's good to have a little cushion between me and the day to day for me, so I can plan for the company's future and not be bogged down.
Yeah. Well, being able to take that feedback when you hear it from folks around you, first they have to feel safe to be honest, especially because you're the boss sending that out, so that can be different sometimes if different people take a 360 and maybe they're not in a supervisory or the ultimate boss, but you are. So folks gave you some feedback, and it sounds like you listened to it and said, maybe I'll just, and we talk about this in Leadership Fredericksburg. It's like a little tweak to what we do, but change can be easier if you're driving the change, but then when it's internal, like change self, how do I do that? That takes a lot of, intentional work, right?
Right. It's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of scenario, right?
Yeah.
But in our lives, that's what else are we doing? But trying to just become better people, hopefully.
Yeah. Be a good human, right?
Yeah, be a good human.
Yeah. We've done a lot of work lately at the Chamber again around civility and bringing people together around things like being a good human. Well, we think that people's intentions are usually good, but we may come at things from different, have different ways of looking at them or different worldviews and all that. So finding ways to communicate with others, I think that's something I've always admired with you. You're certainly very open with your opinions and so forth, but I feel you're always respectful in how you convey that information to others.
That would be one of the changes I think I would point to is people can watch me in the public eye in the last 18 years. And when I first got elected to the board, I was just much quicker to respond.
Okay.
And I didn't listen as well. I didn't take that extra time to not react but when someone said something that gave me a thought, whether it be a good one or a bad one.
Yeah.
And that is so important in politics, especially. For me, it's almost like a challenge now in politics, because politics has just gotten more hostile, and so people are more they're nastier and nastier, and their approach is offensive sometimes. And I try to just not react and to diffuse the situation. And it can be done even with the most angry person. If you just think of the right words and you don't react, you can change the dynamic in that situation. And that's really helpful in business too. That's some of the stuff I learned in the feedback I got from my assessment.
Oh yeah, and over time you figured that out on listening and having that pause between, sometimes anger, quick response, whatever's fast on your mind, versus, let me give this just a little bit more thought here. So that's really important, I think, in 2022 is what I call it. Hashtag 2022, even though it's really been a couple of years in a row where we've just been in such a different time, in our country, and right all the way down to the grassroots here. As you think about people that are, I want to go back to another thought real quick that I had from a speaker we had here at the Chamber last week, Chris Singleton. He mentioned that what he's noticed, and he's a young man, he's only 26, but what a great leader. He noticed that people are leading with the hate and what they don't like versus what they do like. For example, if there's a sports team that you really hate, it's like, I'm going to do everything I can to shoot them down versus, hey, I just love, and you know what we're going to say here, and it's me and you, we're going to say the Buccaneers, right? So we're going to talk about that because of you have your personal reasons. Mine is just clearly only the Brady effect, but we don't have to talk about that today. But it's like love them versus hating the other teams. And so that's what you're seeing everywhere. Our focus is on hating what we think is bad instead of championing what we believe in.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's kind of keeping your eye on that and remembering that and coming back to that centerpiece, I think.
Yeah, you don't have to hate the opposition. It works the other way around better.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. But as you're, because I know you've got to be mentoring people and so forth, professionally or out there in the community. What advice would you give someone starting out as you look back on, how you've come through?
Well, for me, what worked was just working hard. I'd put in long hours, and so I wouldn't suggest to anyone that you can have a successful business with a part-time mentality. But I know people do. But for me, that didn't work. I worked really hard and worked long hours for a long time, and I wasn't afraid to fail. And I certainly had my share of failures and stress, financial stress in the beginning parts of my business. So I work hard. Don't be afraid to take chances and fail, and maybe have someone in your life, if you have someone in your life that supports your vision, because that can be challenging if you don't.
Awesome. Have you had any particular mentor that has been incredibly meaningful to you?
Yeah, in a couple different veins. Politically, I would say in our region, I want to just say that I'll miss Rob Whitman. Rob Whitman, as far as politics goes, is pretty much just a really great example of what I think that a politician should aspire to be. Just the way, again, listens, very informed, and takes the time to know his issues, engages the community, and listens to all points of view. Just that on all those levels, I really think he's great. Personally, I would go back. My Uncle Ray Rainwater, who he owned a landfill and a construction company, a lot of things in the Lorton area, and he kind of mentored me as I grew up. He lived 2 houses down from me, and I came from a dysfunctional, disconnected family, and so he was very much like a father to me. Although I have a person who I love too that I consider a father, but Uncle Ray was a businessman, and I just wanted to be like him, and and he always helped me, and he helped me in my early career too, in a lot of different ways, helping me just lessons on how to work, helping me with money when I needed it. So.
Yeah, well, I so admire your entrepreneurial spirit, and you don't have that fear of failure. I think about you. We're very close in age, and I think about you in 1986 saying, I'm just gonna do this thing. I was still floating around in college playing music, kind of dreaming at that age, and you were doing it.
It just seemed natural at the time. I needed something to do with my energy.
Yeah.
And I really like the in construction, the attention to detail, and you can. There's a lot of satisfaction that you can take from creating things, and in our case, metal, and sometimes wood, but mostly we work in metal and glass. But it's when you leave a finished product that's beautiful, that you're going to be proud of, and your customers like it. I mean, that just gives you a good feeling. And you work on the details, and then in our business we work on speed. It's one of the names of the game in commercial hardware is how quickly you can do things properly.
Okay.
And so you learn methods to move more quickly and efficiently.
Well, how have you coped with things like supply chain? I know you just said you're having a good year, but I've heard so many in the construction industry have had a hard time getting supplies.
Yeah, it's terrible. So it's this whole COVID thing. I think it's still maybe part of the COVID thing. It started with us not being able to get supplies and long lead times on everything, and so we couldn't get our materials, and so we started buying things in advance. And our customers. I work for the biggest guys out there: CBG, HIT, Balfour Beatty, Folger Pratt. Like if they're building apartments, LF Jennings, who's doing some work around here for Baycoast. And Baycoast, if they want to make sure we couldn't get materials, so we bought them ahead of time and stored them in the beginning of the COVID thing, and then the price escalation just went crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I'm talking 30, 40, in some cases 50% within a space of a year.
Uh-huh.
And we're locked into our pricing and our contracts. We don't have a way out of that. And so we took some serious hits in the beginning of the first couple of quarters of this year because of price escalation. So what our customers learned to do was to buy everything further in advance. And so we now have jobs that are sold that won't start for a year and a half, and we bought the materials. They may go down in price, but our customers were not willing to take the chance. So we have those stored in various places securely.
Wow. Were you really talking about the cost of doing business and that hit you took? There's a million stories like this right now in business, but people just don't always think about that.
Right. A smaller company wouldn't have survived it. We had a lot of equity in the company, and we still do. So we could take a beating, and that's what it's all about. I always known through recessions, we came out of the last one really, really well. Like we're all going to get hurt if we're in a recession, and it's going to get worse, and it's going to hurt all of us. Almost no one doesn't get hurt. It's just a matter of how well you can pull through it.
Right. Well, hearing that, the Chamber of Commerce is a 501c6. It's a business alliance. It's a nonprofit organization. And, a lot of businesses or individuals, when they think of nonprofit giving, if you will, they often think of more charitable organizations, as I know you do as well. And often don't think of your chamber perhaps as something that needs funding. And you and your company, despite any difficulties you may have been having, it sounds like you were well prepared, but still, you never wavered in supporting us. Through these last couple of years, they've been really difficult, for our industry, for your chamber industry. And you've been right there, your company, just supporting us, sponsoring events, coming out, staying a strong member. And we just so appreciate that support. And tell me, what makes you believe that's important?
We wouldn't do it if we didn't think it was a value add for us.
Yeah.
And it's important because I mentioned earlier the community that you created, but also my employees. We like being part of the chamber. We love going to the chamber events.
Yeah.
And so it gives us a thing to do. And we feel like we're part of something else that's larger because we are. And it was just so great to interact with all these other really successful companies, much more so than us. We're, we're middle tier. So it's a real value add for us, that being part of that community and the events. And,
well, I want to make sure you know how much that means to us.
And leadership, we'll be sending someone else. Yeah. We'll start sending people through leadership now
good.
that I've done it.
Good.
That's another great thing you offer.
Yeah. You've been very active with our Regional Transportation Action Committee. It got a little quiet for a year or two because we had to focus on so many regulations and things that were happening with COVID. So we're slowly starting to build it again. But
and you had successes. I mean, you have to admit you really got a lot done in the area.
I know.
If listeners don't know it, I mean, the two bridges being built across the Rappahannock River are no small part due to the activities of this chamber. They lobbied big time. They went to Washington. They went to Richmond, and that really they put some real. It was a very squeaky wheel.
Yes, thank you for that. And it's daunting as we see the projects continue as you go up 95, right?
That's progress.
Yeah, it is progress, and we know we still have a long way to go. But you've remained engaged with that. Recently, I think just this past week, you were at another one of our local FAMPO, right? Or GWRC?
FAMPO, which is a subset of GWRC. Fredericksburg Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, where all the transportation decisions for the region are made with the very limited resources that they have.
Yeah, so for listeners, it can get really, really data-driven and hard to follow because there's so much there. But folks like Paul that really follow it and understand it and lead with it make such a difference when we're out there trying to, help and grow the region and do things to support our infrastructure in this fast-growing region, right?
I do not like traffic.
No, and we have a lot of it. Yeah. So anyhow, we're already ready to wind down, and we just started chatting.
Oh yeah, we just did.
We did. But I wanted to ask you, is there a favorite motto or saying that you would want to share? Do you have one?
Yeah, I thought about this, and I did. I can't. No, I don't really have a particular motto that I throw around too often.
Just be happy, maybe.
Nothing I'm going to say on the radio. How about
okay,
that?
so we're not going with the motto today. I'm golden with that. I forgot to check with you right beforehand to say, did you have that for us today? It's okay. I'm good with that. But is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners? They are from all over the world, and you travel all over the world, so that's awesome. Yeah.
No, I have traveled. I've been to about 90 countries, and there's a lot to see out there. We haven't. Speaking of the world, we know we haven't made it in America. There's no other place like this. I hope everyone listening hasn't had a chance to see what's going on in the rest of the world appreciates how well we have it and what a great place this is to start a business and take advantage of the opportunity here.
What's your favorite place to travel? Is there somewhere you've gone to more than like 2 or 3 times that's out there?
There's so many different kinds of places. I've been to, I love going. It's so cliche, but of course Paris. You have to go to Paris. I've been there many times. My wife loves Paris, but I like to travel. I have driven through all down through Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia Yugoslavia, and down through Italy. I mean, there's the Yugoslavia was amazing all the way to Bosnia, but Croatia and the place where they filmed Game of Thrones and that whole coastline. It's just really an amazing area. But no, I don't want. I feel like I'm taking away from one place by suggesting that another is better. There's just so much to see out there. Just taking the time and so many different kinds of people and cultures to meet.
When you go to Paris, what's the one thing you have to do every time? There's got to be something.
Well, no, I mean eat. That's when you go to
I
Paris.
figured it might have to do with.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite restaurant or something? Do you remember the name of it or no?
No, I mean because there's not because it's not. You don't have to go to a great restaurant to get good food in Paris.
It's like I haven't been out of the United States.
Oh,
okay, except I've been to Canada when I was a kid. So I don't know why I even had to share that. It's like I've been one time over the border, but I have not left the United States. So I'm kind of living vicariously through you and thinking about my own experiences. I definitely think that whenever I go to New York City, there is nowhere bad to eat. At least I haven't found it yet. And it's different every time.
The Italians also, their food is amazing too. It's like everywhere you go. The rest stop on the highway has like amazing food. Not kidding. So,
yeah.
Getting a place downtown and Paris, near where everything is, the Louvre, of course, and being able to just get up in the mornings and have a pastry, and it's nice.
It's super cliche, but Versailles is on my bucket list. Yeah. Right, I'm a little bit obsessed with that place.
Really?
Yeah, I just because I haven't been anywhere that's that ornate, and the history of things in Europe that are not in the United States. It's a couple hundred years versus thousands of years.
The summer palace in St. Petersburg is a rival to Versailles.
Super interesting. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I'm sorry I put you on the spot there with what's the name of the place? You'll remember it as soon as we stop talking. You'll be like, oh wait, it was called this. But it's great, and I enjoy talking to you. And we always have a good time chatting and doing stuff together in our community. So thank you for all that you do, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.
You're welcome. And to our listeners, thanks for spending time with us today. I'm Susan Spears with the Fredericksburg Regional Chamber of Commerce, and our guest today was Paul Milde. If you haven't already liked or subscribed to the Chamber's We Are Business podcast, why don't you go ahead and do so, please? It would make us so happy. You'll know when new episodes are available, and you'll help us to grow our audience here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.